It's Monday, November 27th. I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And I'm Priyanka Arabindi, and this is What a Day, where Thanksgiving might be over, but we are feasting with concert films this year.
Beyonce's Renaissance documentary just premiered, though somehow my invite must have got lost.
It has to be the Postal Service's fault.
Or Jay-Z. I don't think he ever liked me.
You can blame it on him. That's fine.
On today's show, George Floyd's murderer, Derek Chauvin, is stable after being stabbed in prison. Plus, the Union for Hollywood Actors, SAG-AFTRA, releases the full text of its deal with studios to convince more members to vote for it.
But first, the latest out of Israel and Gaza. Under a temporary 4-day-long ceasefire agreement reached last week between Israel and Hamas, 17 more hostages held by Hamas were released on Sunday, while at least 120 aid trucks entered Gaza via Egypt. This makes for a total of 58 hostages released by Hamas over the first 3 days of the ceasefire, which has been the longest break in the violence since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. Take a listen to Adva Adar, the granddaughter of an 85-year-old woman who was released on Friday. She was talking to CNN about what it was like to have her grandmother back.
Wow. Really, it's overwhelming, but we're very excited and we're very grateful that we got the chance to see her. It's mixed feelings because we're also very concerned and worried about the other 211 people that are still being held hostage, including my cousin Tamir.
I definitely understand the mixed feelings, mixed emotions that they spoke to there. Can you tell us more about the hostages who were released over the past few days?
Definitely. Hamas released Israeli women and children and citizens of the U.S., Thailand, Poland, the Philippines, and Russia. Most arrived in Israel, but others left through Egypt. And according to Israel, one elderly woman was actually airlifted directly to a hospital, not because she was harmed in any way. She just, was an elderly woman who wasn't receiving the same type of care that she normally was. So, in the absence of that over the 6-week period, needed to go to the hospital to be seen. So there were 9 children under the age of 17 who were being held hostage and have since been released. The youngest hostage so far was released yesterday, 4-year-old Abigail Idan. She is a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen, actually the first American to be released under the terms of the ceasefire. Her parents were killed in the October 7th attack, so really just awful story. But according to President Biden, she is now safe in Israel.
Gotcha. So we've got some release of hostages. What do the people of Gaza get in return for that release of hostages?
So in return for Hamas releasing at least 50 of the remaining hostages they held, all women and children, Israel agreed to 4 days of a ceasefire, as well as the release of 150 Palestinian women and children from Israeli prisons, some of whom were detained for violent crimes, and some of whom were actually detained but never formally charged with any crimes. So far, 117 Palestinians have been released from Israeli prisons. On Sunday, a bus carrying 39 of them, all teenagers, arrived in the West Bank city of Ramallah.
Gotcha. Can you tell us more about how this deal even came together in the first place behind the scenes?
Yeah, this ceasefire deal came together after weeks of negotiation that started actually very shortly after the October 7th attack itself. U.S. officials played a huge role in pushing Hamas and working with Israel. Qatar and Egypt acted as intermediaries in these discussions. And President Biden, along with other senior U.S. officials, spent a lot of time communicating with the families of these hostages and assuring them that they were doing everything they could to bring their family members back home safely. That is actually a contrast that has been drawn, by these family members of hostages about, the support and the communication they were receiving from President Biden and the U.S. government versus the Israeli government, which I thought had been very interesting. This deal was not without its hiccups, though. Hamas officials threatened to walk away from talks after the Israeli military entered Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza earlier this month. But talks resumed on November 17th, with Israel signing off on the agreement by Wednesday, the 22nd, and of course the ceasefire was in motion by Friday. There were fears over the weekend that the agreement might fall apart after Hamas claimed that Israel went back on parts of it and threatened to postpone the release of a second wave of hostages in response to that. But after an hours-long delay, they eventually went ahead with the release, and now it continues, which is really just great news for these hostages and their families that have been waiting for, weeks and weeks now to know that they're safe and to have them home.
Absolutely. Thanks for that update on the hostages themselves, Priyanka. And now, after that, right, much of the discussion has turned to what will happen on day 5 after this negotiated pause ends and the agreed upon number of hostages are freed. President Biden has said that, quote, the chances are real that this pause could lead to a longer-term ceasefire. But most immediately, it looks like the current pause, which would end today, could be extended in the meantime.
Right.
Part of the deal negotiated between Hamas and Israel is that for every 10 hostages that Hamas releases beyond that initial 50, Israel will pause violence by another day. According to Qatar's prime minister, who helped broker this agreement, like you mentioned, more than 40 other women and children are allegedly being held captive in Gaza, but not by Hamas. And so, if Hamas can finagle those hostages for release, he says that there would likely be an extension. Just looking at the numbers, though, if such an extension did happen, the total pause would be about 10 days total.
Got it. Okay, so I know there have been some new developments over the last day. What is the sense now that either Israel or Hamas want an extension?
Yeah, so both Israel and Hamas have expressed kind of an openness to a temporary extension of the pause in line with those already negotiated parameters that I just mentioned. But diplomacy analysts note that both parties don't really have strong reasons to consider much of an extension in the first place. For example, if Hamas releases all of the hostages, they won't really have whatever leverage that they might have had over Israel. Not to mention, they have to also appease in some ways the other rival military groups that operate in Gaza, like the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So, too many concessions with Israel and Hamas's allies might not be happy or cooperative. And then on Israel's side, even though their response to Hamas's attack on October 7 has killed more than 13,000 Palestinians, that's according to health officials in Gaza, they haven't actually made too much headway in specifically wiping out Hamas yet. According to estimates cited by the New York Times, only a little over 2,000 Hamas fighters have been killed in the war thus far. That is out of some 40,000 people, so only about 5%, meaning that any sort of longer-term extension of this ceasefire would mean that Netanyahu wouldn't be able to make good on his vows. And that could harm him politically, as the calls for his resignation or replacement seem to be growing by both elected officials, a part of his conservative regime, and those who are not.
Right. And those figures that you are pointing out, even just the estimate that only a little over 2,000 Hamas fighters have been killed thus far, that's 15%, of the total 13,000 Palestinians that have died over the past 6 weeks as a result of Israel's bombing campaign in Gaza. I think it underscores the ineffectiveness of this particular tactic of indiscriminate airstrikes in terms of rooting out terrorism, which remains to be seen if anything will change. I don't think so. But anyways, any extension in the pause would certainly be a positive thing. So many people really hopeful about the release of the hostages, families who are hopeful that they will see their loved ones. And, just a pause in this violence that has cost so many lives for so many people. So let's say that, this happens. It does happen. It's a full 10-day long hold on the fighting. What happens after all of those hostages are returned? Do we know?
Well, so that answer is a little uncertain, but Netanyahu has basically made Israel's priorities fairly clear. He actually said on Sunday, quote, "We have 3 goals in this war: eliminate Hamas, return all of our hostages, and ensure that Gaza will not go back to being a threat to the state of Israel." He added, quote, "We are convinced that we have the force, the strength, the will, and the determination to achieve all of our goals for the war."
Got it. All right. So throughout all of those updates, protests on every side of this issue have continued. What was this weekend like in that regard?
Yeah, so I'll do a quick little roundup here. First, in London, there were 2 demonstrations over the weekend. Here is a clip recorded by Forbes.
Thank you for keeping up the pressure. Thank you for coming out to show Israel and your government that you will not relent. Cease fire now! Cease fire now! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
That is sound from a pro-Palestinian march that took place Saturday. An estimated 45,000 protesters marched through the city calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. It was a largely peaceful gathering. Only 18 arrests were made, according to officials. And then on Sunday, a second march happened, this one against anti-Semitism. Take a listen to this protester interviewed by The Guardian.
We, the Jewish community, are worried about the current situation here in the United Kingdom, the rising wave of anti-Semitism, and we worry about the future. So together with all of the people here today, we are protesting against the rise of anti-Semitism, and we're hoping that the British government will support the Jewish community in their efforts to suppress the anti-Semitism that's rising and taking over the society.
Varying estimates for the demonstration put attendees between 60,000 and 100,000, and it happened as crimes against Jewish people have increased dramatically since the October attack.
Right.
According to the BBC, there were 554 reports of anti-Semitism in London between the 1st of October and the 1st of November this year, so over just that 1 month time period. That's compared with just 44 instances in the same period last year. Also, at the same time, Islamophobic hate crimes have also been on the rise in London, with 220 instances in that same 1 month period compared to just 78 last year.
Right, of course, as we've dealt with all of the violence, the death, the tragedy in the Middle East, we deal with all of the hate and the ensuing violence and tragedy that comes from it just all around the world. It's been awful, but I know we are no stranger to protests right here at home. What has been happening in America?
Yeah, so protests continued throughout the holiday break, with the famed Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade being a bit livelier than usual, perhaps. That's because some pro-Palestinian demonstrators calling for a permanent ceasefire, they dressed themselves in white jumpsuits with fake blood splashed on themselves, and they tried to glue their hands to the pavement of the parade route. One protester, as they were being detained by police, proclaimed, quote, "We have nothing to celebrate." In total, 34 people were detained by police at the parade. 4 of them faced charges including harassment, obstruction of governmental administration, and resisting arrest. The other 30 were cited for trespassing and disorderly conduct. This, though, was just one of a number of demonstrations that happened over the holiday break, which also included protests aimed at disrupting Black Friday shopping. And I'm sure we will continue to see demonstrations in the days and weeks ahead. But that is the latest for now. We'll be back after some ads.
What a Day is brought to you by Vuori. Vuori is perfect for everyday wear. It's incredibly versatile, comfortable, and you can wear it for working out, running errands, or even just lounging around your home. That's my personal favorite because it's fashionable and functional.
Plus, Vuori is good for the planet. That is because Vuori is 100% offsetting their carbon footprint, and they use better sustainable materials for their products, so you can look good while feeling good about what you are wearing. We love Vuori products. They are so soft, so comfortable. I got to do a special shout out to their little crop tanks. Those are my new.
Yes, I got
They're
one.
so good. My new go-to for yoga. I know Juanita does a ton of yoga too. Love them.
Period.
So comfortable.
And the material is just, in a word, buttery. It's smooth.
Yes.
It's light and airy. I love it.
You got to get your hands on some of these.
Vuori is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they are offering 20% off your first purchase. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at vuori.com/WOD. That's VUORI.com/WOD. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Go to vuori.com/WOD and discover the versatility of Vuori clothing.
What A Day is brought to you by bookshop.org. Whether you're searching for the perfect gift for a loved one, a novel that sweeps you away, maybe you want a fabulous book that is part memoir, part history of trans images on screen. I don't know. Maybe you want a coffee table book about the beauty and richness of Black language. Listen, I don't know who wrote those things, but bookshop.org has just the book you're looking for. I hear they're called We See Each Other, a Black trans journey through TV and film, and historically Black phrases from I Ain't One of Your Little Friends to Who All Gonna Be There. Listen, I don't know. Maybe those will whet your fancy for this holiday season, and you can get them at bookshop.org.
Just perhaps you probably want to track that down. You probably should just search Tre'vell's name if you didn't catch those titles. Just go on Bookshop and look it up. When you purchase from bookshop.org, you are supporting local independent bookstores, so they will be around for all of us to enjoy in the future. You can use code WAD to get 10% off your next order at bookshop.org/crooked. That is code WAD to get 10% off at bookshop.org/crooked. What A Day is brought to you by Field of Greens. Field of Greens is the healthiest thing you can do every day. Just a little scoop of it in your water and you are good to go. Each organic fruit and vegetable was medically chosen to support heart and vital organ health. And with flu season here, you can trust Field of Greens to keep you nice and healthy. Along with those vaccines, people, don't skimp on those.
Absolutely. But Field of Greens, it tastes pretty okay. You just drop it into your water and instantly your day is a whole lot healthier than it was before.
You're the picture of health and wellness. You have done it.
Absolutely. You are going to love this product. But if for any reason you don't, they'll give you a 100% money back guarantee. Right now, you can get 15% off your first order and free rush shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use promo code WAD. That's promo code WAD at fieldofgreens.com, fieldofgreens.com.
Now let's wrap up with some headlines.
Headlines.
Derek Chauvin, the ex-Minneapolis police officer who murdered George Floyd in 2020, is reportedly in stable condition after a fellow inmate stabbed him in federal prison on Friday. The incident was first reported by the Associated Press that day when the Bureau of Federal Prisons said that an incarcerated individual was assaulted at the Federal Corrections Institute in Tucson, Arizona. Chauvin has been serving out 2 concurrent prison sentences there since 2022, and a source familiar with the matter identified Chauvin as the individual who was attacked to the press. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison confirmed the stabbing on Saturday and said that Chauvin's condition had stabilized. Officials say that no employees were injured in Friday's attack and that the FBI is aware of the incident. In the meantime, all visitation to the prison has been suspended, quote, until further notice.
3 Palestinian college students were shot in Burlington, Vermont on Saturday. The 20-year-old men were walking near the University of Vermont while visiting a relative. Burlington police said that a white man approached them with a handgun and, without saying anything, fired 4 times and then fled. 2 of the victims are in stable condition and the third sustained more serious injuries. 2 of the 3 victims were wearing keffiyehs, which are traditional Palestinian scarves. All 3 men graduated from a high school in the occupied West Bank and are now currently attending various U.S. universities. The attacker hasn't yet been identified or caught by authorities, and the police department said they are still in the earliest stages of investigating this possible hate crime. The Council on American Islamic Relations announced that they are offering a $10,000 reward for any information on the shooting targeting the 3 students. But this is tragically part of a broader pattern. The organization said they have seen an unprecedented surge in anti-Muslim and anti-Arab hate since the beginning of the crisis in Gaza last month.
It's troubling for so many reasons. It really needs to stop. Switching gears now to yet another update in Silicon Valley drama, Sam Altman has officially been reinstated as the CEO of OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. The artificial intelligence company announced the move last Tuesday, just days after its board of directors pushed Altman out of the company. Greg Brockman, the company's president, who quit in solidarity with Altman, also returned to the company. And OpenAI also announced a new, quote, initial board of directors that is made up of 3 members. It is worth noting that the only 2 women on the board are now gone. You'll remember the whirlwind of events that led up to Altman's return, starting with his ouster from OpenAI on Friday, November 17th. That was followed by Microsoft, which is OpenAI's biggest investor, hiring Altman and Brockman at their company. Then, after all of that, nearly all of OpenAI's close to 800 staff members signed on to an open letter basically threatening to join Microsoft if Altman and Brockman were not reinstated at OpenAI. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, Altman wrote on Tuesday, quote, "I am looking forward to returning to OpenAI and building our strong partnership with Microsoft." My head is spinning. That is a lot. The man has had to update his LinkedIn twice in 1 week. That is more than I have done in the last 7 years. So it's just a lot.
It is a lot. So much drama, so much back and forth, so much foolishness. Ay, ay, ay. Sean Diddy Combs is facing his third accusation of sexual assault in a month, according to a lawsuit filed in New York last Thursday. A woman identified as Jane Doe alleged that Combs and the R&B singer Aaron Hall assaulted her and her friend at Hall's apartment. In a different lawsuit, Joy Dickerson Neal accused Combs of assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, sex trafficking, gender-motivated violence, and making and disseminating revenge porn. Both of these cases pertain to alleged incidents that happened in the early 1990s. And these women filed suits just one day before a provision of New York's Survivors Act expired last Friday, a temporary provision that allowed victims to file claims older than 20 years old. All of this comes just a week after singer and actress Cassie filed a $30 million lawsuit alleging that Combs raped, sex trafficked, and abused her starting when she was 19 years old. This case was settled one day later, but the amount of money wasn't made public. Actor Jamie Foxx, New York Mayor Eric Adams, and singer Axl Rose were among others accused of sexual assault before the Adult Survivors Act deadline.
In labor news you may have missed this week, SAG-AFTRA, the union representing more than 160,000 Hollywood actors, published the full tentative labor agreement reached with the studio executives earlier this month. The 129-page draft was posted online on Friday as union members weigh whether or not to ratify the deal. In the past, actors have traditionally relied on the union's detailed summaries of new contracts to decide, but after several members pressured the union's leadership for more details of the new deal, SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher promised that the full text would be made public. Many union members have praised the new agreement, which is valued at $1 billion in new wages and benefits, but some still aren't satisfied with the provisions around generative AI. Matthew Modine, one of the members of SAG-AFTRA's own national board, said last week that he voted against the new deal because he believes that it doesn't provide actors enough protection from digital exploitation. SAG-AFTRA members have until December 5th to vote. I know we will be watching that very closely on this program.
Absolutely. And finally, Beyonce's highly anticipated Renaissance film made its world premiere Saturday night at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater in Beverly Hills. And it was, of course, a star-studded event. Among those who graced the chrome carpet, a red carpet sans the red, were Beyonce's parents, most of the former Destiny's Child members, as well as Lupita Nyong'o, Lizzo, Janelle Monáe, Issa Rae, Laverne Cox, and many, many others. And if you're wondering where Taylor Swift was, since Beyonce made an appearance at her LA premiere of the Eras Tour film, Swift was performing in South America. The night's dress code was reportedly, quote, cozy opulence, and opulence was definitely served. Beyonce herself wore a silver Versace gown with metallic opera gloves. She also skipped the carpet altogether and entered the theater just as the lights went down, as a diva does.
Yes.
The film reportedly features footage from several performances of Queen Bee's recent blockbuster tour and includes appearances from special guests like Megan Thee Stallion, who joined Beyonce on stage in a Houston show, as well as the iconic Diana Ross singing Happy Birthday to Beyonce in LA. That's the show I attended. The movie also features Beyonce's 11-year-old daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, who joined her mom on stage as a dancer for My Power, which was apparently only supposed to be a one-time thing, and she saw some of you all's horrible comments about her dancing, and she decided that she was going to work a little harder and show all of y'all up. So maybe y'all should stop talking about children when they show up in public.
Or keep talking about them because maybe they'll have a revenge arc like Blue Ivy and turn out to be one of the best dancers we've ever seen by the end of the tour.
Point.
I don't know. Just
valid point.
One or the other. The right answer is either one of the two.
Valid point. Anyway, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, is in theaters this Friday. Get your tickets while you can, but if you haven't already, you might already be a little too late if we're being honest.
Yeah, babes, what? If you missed the tickets, you're not getting in on Friday. You're getting in at some point. It's just not opening weekend, but maybe you can live with that.
But you want to be there opening weekend, okay? I think we all should wear our cozy opulence, which to me sounds just like sweatpants.
I know, same. I was like
a
Versace gown, cozy opulence. That is giving my finest sweatsuit, but it's fine. It's fine.
And those are the headlines.
One more thing before we go. Starting to get dizzy from the polar coaster or nauseous from watching the 2024 Republican primary? You are not alone. But good news, you have got something better to do. Join the Vote Save America community for all the tools you need to take action in this presidential election cycle, from volunteer opportunities to making sure that you're registered to vote. At Vote Save America, being an engaged citizen doesn't start next year. It starts right now. So head to votesaveamerica.com/no-off-years to find out how you can get involved today.
That is all for today. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, keep eating those leftovers, and tell your friends to listen.
And if you're into reading and not just watching Beyonce docs like me, What Is It is also a nightly newsletter. Check it out and subscribe at crooked.com/subscribe. I'm Priyanka Arabindi.
I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And where was our invite to the premiere, B?
Again, I'm blaming Jay-Z.
I'm blaming Louis DeJoy. I'm blaming Louis Chauvin.
What a Day is a production of Crooked Media. It's recorded and mixed by Bill Lance. Our show's producer is Itzy Quintanilla. Raven Yamamoto and Natalie Bettendorf are our associate producers. And our showrunner is Leo Duran. Our theme music is by Colin Gilliard and Kashaka.
Radio Andy.
Hey, it's Andy Cohen. Join me on Andy Cohen Live, where it's just you, me, and some of the world's biggest celebrities. Paris Hilton, Chelsea Handler, Seth Rogen. I love you, Miley. Thank you so much.
You can listen to Andy Cohen Live at home or anywhere you are. No car required. Download the SiriusXM app for over 425 channels of ad-free music, sports, entertainment, and more. Subscribe now and get 3 months free. Offer details apply.
iPhone 15 Pro on Verizon.
For a limited time, trade in any iPhone in any condition for the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium and iPad and Apple Watch SE. All on us with Unlimited Ultimate. Act now. Visit Verizon.com. iPhone requires Unlimited Ultimate plan first. Service plan required for iPad and Apple Watch. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line required first. Less $1,000 trade-in/promo credit. Up to $459.99 device payment purchase with new line on eligible plan required per Apple Watch or iPad. Less up to $459.99 promo credit per device applied. 0% APR. Additional terms and conditions apply.